Welcome back to another book highlight. We're actually going to combine a couple of chapters in My Father the King, chapters 6 through 9. And for these book highlights, I'd like to talk about the hope in Mephi's life and how he knows to grasp at it even if it seems like it's hiding most of the time. And I'll start with the ring Mephi wears. It's his father's seal ring, and he cherishes it on one level because it's all he has of his father's. It's kind of a mystery to him. It's a precious treasure, but he also resents it on another level because it binds him to a hope that doesn't feel real, a future that died with his father. Later on, David tells him that if it helped him keep fighting, it wasn't useless, but on some level, Mephi resents it because it reminds him of the fact that he was supposed to be a prince, and that was his inheritance, his destiny, and he doesn't really know what to do now that he can't have that. He can't get rid of the ring because it still represents the hope in his life right now, but he's frustrated because he can't see any tangible evidence of his life getting better. And in chapter 8, when he's actually been captured by the tribes that are still angry at Saul for what he did to them, and he's about to be killed, he cries out for mercy and desperation, and it's in our most desperate moments like that we cry out to God with the most sincerity. And on some level, this ring that he keeps represents, that tangible hope that he can't access any other way. And deep inside, he knows that he can still cry out to God. He knows that's his only option. He knows that on some level, he's still connected to God as a son of Israel, even though he doesn't understand what that means. I'm always amazed when I hear these stories of people who are living in such darkness, and yet in their moment of greatest desperation, they instinctively cry out to God, even if they haven't been serving him their whole life. Similarly, Mephi knows to cry out to God in this moment of greatest need, even though he's not been living in continual pursuit of God. Now, in that moment, it just feels like a radical, crazy, desperate cry in the midst of a terrifying circumstance. And yet God has already been moving on his behalf and covers him in a miraculous way. In the moment, it feels like he just escapes by the skin of his teeth. But later, he realizes how much God was watching out for him and how much his father's legacy had already prepared the way for him before he even needed help. In the next chapter, we find that David has been praying for Mephi and praying for God's presence to be unmistakable in his life while he's searching for him. And this really is the beginning of Mephi sensing God's pursuit of him. We get so frustrated in our own lives because we know God's mercy is real and that there's a hope for our future, but we have moments where we want to throw in the towel and throw it all away because we're wondering, when are we going to see the rescue? When is the hope going to become tangible? It feels like jumping off a cliff into darkness. Why am I still holding on to hope that's not materializing? It's so easy to see the abuse or the trouble around us and think this is the evidence of God not moving in our lives. And if that's the case, we'd rather give up hope. We can make a very convincing argument for that. And we often want to throw away the remnants of our hope in our lives. It might not be a ring that we carry, but it could be God's word or the church. We want to throw it away because we're not getting out of it what we want. But crying out for God in the midst of trouble, or worshiping through trial, or thanking God for breakthrough that you haven't seen yet, hoping against hope like Abraham, radical obedience like that, as crazy as it feels, is the most beautiful paradox of faith, and it unlocks the power of God in our lives. The beauty of David's praying for Mephi as he's searching for him is that our prayers can always reach someone, even if we can't. If you're wondering where God is in your own life or in the horrendous circumstance you're praying through, where is God's mercy here? Do not allow what's happening to stop you from praying and holding on to hope. The prayers of a righteous person are powerful and effective. And when we hope against all hope because it's based on God's character, not what we see, that unlocks the door for God to do some amazing things. And he's already working where we don't see it. God's powerful sovereign grace enables us to rise every day in defiance of the end of our rope, not denying its reality, but disarming its power to steal our destiny, simply by declaring our trust is in God, and he's the one who makes our grip strong. The Bible calls the people of God his signet ring, and that really is infinitely more precious than the ring I imagined for Mephi. So don't cut that ring loose. Don't throw it away and give up in despair, because when we hit bottom, we touch the depths of all that God is, and he begins to teach us how to be the royalty we are.